Well, welcome back to Pastor Plek's podcast recording from Austin, Texas. So glad to have all of you with me. I'm Pastor Plek, and in studio with me, I have Mrs. Catie Sas.
Hello.
And also Pastor Joseph Aiken. Welcome back to the show. So glad you guys are here.
Oh, what's going on?
All right, so I want to talk about a couple of things. We're going to talk about the justice of God today, and specifically because what we talked about this past weekend at Wells Branch Community Church was how God's justice doesn't always look really nice. In fact, that's one of the things that probably people who are not Christians really critique Christians for. They would say, listen, I'm all for God and justice, but here's what I notice. God doesn't look like he's defending his people very well, because we see the proud avoid justice. We see the violent avoid justice. And then we don't see a greater plan for God's justice. And we went through the book of Obadiah. Had you ever heard of the book of Obadiah before that?
I have heard of the book of Obadiah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. It is the shortest book in the Old Testament. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Yeah, shortest book in the Old Testament, and 21 solid verses in one chapter. So we went through an entire book of the Bible on one Sunday, which was I don't know. There's a sense of achievement in that. Yeah.
21 verses.
21 verses, and essentially this book is about how Edom, and if you're familiar with Edom, that would be like AKA Esau, or as in Jacob and Esau. Were you familiar? You familiar with that story we talked about the week before? But yeah. How familiar are you with Esau? What do you know about good old Esau?
Really, not a lot. I've never looked at Esau's life all that much.
Yeah, so Esau was Jacob's brother. He and Jacob were the twin sons of Isaac and Rebekah. And when the promise of God was going down through the generations from Abraham to Isaac, there was a split. And the split went to Jacob, not to Esau. And Esau, and his name means red all over, like a big furry red mat.
Loved the clip art picture. He was hairy in it. It's the first thing I noticed.
He's a hairy man.
He is a hairy man. And
accurate.
Jacob was a smooth man.
That was weird.
He's way smoother. Way
smooth man.
All right, so Edom had been piling on to the violence of Babylon during the Babylonian exile for Judah. And so God, through the prophet Obadiah, prophesies doom over Edom, that they would receive justice one day. And sometimes, which is frustrating, and maybe you guys can speak to this, is that the people of that time would actually not see the justice. Does that make sense?
Yes.
That the prophet Obadiah would preach, but that specific audience wouldn't feel the result of that justice in their day. Now, how does that
apply to now?
Yeah, let's think about that. Is there anything where you've seen justice not apply to the wicked in the day of their evil? What do you think, Joseph?
You hear stuff. Have I personally seen justice not apply? I mean, I don't know. You hear the stories of someone getting away with a crime because of the amount of money they have. But firsthand, I can't put my hand on something where I say, I saw this person get away with a crime, outside of maybe someone speeding and saying, man, I wish the cops were around.
Right.
Or something like that. But
the only thing that I know, this is probably where just current events just kind of gets stuck in my head for a little bit. And this is not that current. But Jeffrey Epstein, you guys familiar with that story? Mm-hmm. Like, he had his, like, I don't know, pedophile island or whatever. And he would bring people from all over the world. And then the day he gets caught, he's put in jail and he's immediately killed, by suicide.
Yeah.
With air quotes in bold.
Yeah.
And so I look at that and I'm like, somebody is getting away with a lot, because he probably had blackmailed all these people and he had a lot of information on a lot of world leaders, and they needed him gone, and they were willing to pay whatever person they needed to pay to make sure that he offed himself or someone offed him for him and made it look like a suicide. They had because the cameras went out by accident just for a minute, and one moment he's living and the next thing he's hanging from the rafter. So I feel like that's like movie scriptable stuff. And not that I should be that excited about it, but I'm like, it's overly exciting about somebody's death. But I guess what I mean by that, it's just like, it's happening right now. Like, it is a modern day phenomenon. It's not just in shows. So I think I just watched Reacher on Amazon. Are you familiar with that one?
I'm not.
Okay, well,
I mean, I've seen the previews. I haven't actually.
yeah, and
watched
essentially
it.
it's a lot of murder that happens over and over again. And guys come in like cleaning, like, you know what I mean? They come in full like mop suits and they they clean them up or like dissolve them, the bad people or their victims in acid or whatever. Anyway, it's like one of those shows, and it made me feel like looking at Jeffrey Epstein. And then I'm sure that when there's high money involved and people don't have the morality of God, carrying out wickedness is not something they think twice about. It's just a CODB, cost of doing business.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like if our own expectations of justice will never be satisfied because they're not God's, it's not justice from God. So
Right.
It's like the last couple years, I think I've heard so many people say, well, justice hasn't been served until so-and-so's in prison. Well, then, maybe so-and-so goes to prison. Well, then maybe they didn't get enough time, or maybe they didn't get, it didn't fit this expectation or this box of what they felt justice was. And so that's where we get in trouble, is we have these expectations of what justice should look like in our own eyes. And we're not going, you know what? We are not the king of justice, and God will provide justice in his own time.
Have you ever had a crime perpetrated against you? Like anything stolen from you? Like what?
Okay, I don't know why I said that so fast, because then I was like, shoot, now I have to tell the story. I mean, when I was like in middle school, this girl stole my camera out of the locker room. So, but that's not, what is it? Are you talking about like when I'm a grown up,
Well,
like an adult?
a camera, that's kind of expensive. Was it like one of those like plastic ones or what?
It was a digital camera.
Yeah. So,
And I still remember because I confronted her about it, because I literally saw her with it the next day, and she like starts yelling at me and is like, I can't believe you. Well, and it was a black girl. And so she was like, you're just saying this because I'm black. Blah, blah. And I'm like in the middle of the locker room in front of everyone. And I'm this like I was new to the school, and I was the new white girl in the locker room. And she just started screaming at me. And I'm like,
the drama in Pittsburgh, Texas is pretty.
No, this was in Pittsburgh. This is when I lived in Dallas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I lived in Dallas for a semester, and I had just gotten it for Christmas, and it was a red digital camera, and it was in my backpack in the locker room, and I saw her go in the locker room after me, and then the next day, she has a brand new red digital camera, and so I was like, hey, I think that's my camera, and she's like, no, it's not.
Did you check pictures to make? Did you take any?
I mean,
pictures
I
on
didn't
it?
have any. No.
Oh.
Well, I did, but she wouldn't let me touch it.
Oh.
So I don't know.
So you never got it back.
I never got it back.
Womp womp womp.
But that was like 8th grade.
How about you? Any like been robbed or like held up or anything like that?
Robbed or held up.
Or any experience of getting things stolen, anything like perpetrated
I mean,
violence?
Like, why wasn't my question just as simple as perpetrated with violence? I get robbed or held up.
Well, no, I'm just saying. I mean, robbed. I was robbed.
No,
and I was like,
no, it's funny. I'm just being funny.
Oh man.
Sure, of course, I've had people steal from me. I'm trying to think adulthood. When was the last time someone stole something from me? But man, when you're younger, you have that same thing, kind of locker room kind of thing where people steal from you. I mean, I've been held up by the cops before, if that's the case. Guns pulled on me, but that was because I fit the description. So
yeah,
that's the extent of being held up by guns.
Yeah,
that's kind of intense.
That is intense. What happened?
The day was September 12th. 2001.
Oh gosh, so right after 9/11.
9/11. Yep. I remember.
I'm assuming in Austin.
No, this was in Waco, Texas. I was at Baylor. I was on campus. I actually was chasing down the thief myself. He was a little teenage, probably 15, 16-year-old boy who was trying to rob, and I think I've told you the story before, Chris, but he was trying to rob somebody. He was trying to steal her car. So he stole the keys and stuff, but her car happened to be a standard stick shift. And so
he couldn't drive
it. And so we initially was like, okay, we were just going to hold the doors closed because it was a coupe till the cops come. The other guy couldn't hold his door closed enough. And so the boy gets out. And
Wait, the guy couldn't hold the door closed?
No. College student, big.
He needs to work out.
He does, and so he lets him out, and he's running, and I'm chasing him, kind of thing. Hey, I'm like, just chill out, man. You tried to rob her, just turn yourself in, and eventually we get to a spot where it's like I'm gonna catch him, or we're gonna have to fight or something. So I end up talking him down, and I just remember this was like the movie scene where you see cops jumping over fences into this yard.
Wow.
It was like 20 cops, guns on both of us. Get down on the ground. So I'm laying face down on the ground with about 4 or 5 guns on me, with a couple cops kind of. I'm not struggling or anything, so it's only 2 of them. For the other boy who was, at the time, he might have been 130 pounds, maybe. But and I'm watching him, kind of tears in his eyes. I got tears in my eyes because I'm mad and I'm frustrated. I'm like, it don't take 5 grown men with their knees in his back and stuff to hold him down. So anyways, I know that's not what this is all about. But
man, that's like.
But yeah, so guns on me and all that kind of stuff. Don't move. It just so happened that the girl that had got robbed was there about 5 minutes later. And so I'm handcuffed and stuff. And she was like, he was trying to help. I was trying to explain to him, but they were telling me to shut up and stuff. And so she was like, no, he was helping. And of course, they lift me up, dust me off, and say I'm sorry, all that kind of stuff. That was it. That was when I had guns held on me.
Yeah, but you experienced robbery. I mean, you've seen that now. That one got returned, right? I mean, essentially, all the stuff got back, right? Sort of.
Yeah. For me, this is, again, I don't know that this is the direction of the question, but
yeah.
The little boy, he was a kid. He might have been 15 years old, and he needed more than what I saw. What I experienced, it was like a whole SWAT team jumping fences and stuff. But
because of a car?
Yeah, that he didn't steal the car. He attempted to steal. He couldn't steal. Yeah, it was bad in that sense. But it was like a movie where you see 20 people, cops. I'm telling you, jumping over fences.
Well, how much action do Waco police get?
Hey, and more specifically,
maybe
Baylor University.
Yeah, Baylor University police. I mean, this might have been their one shot.
Was their one shot.
Was the girl white?
Of course. Not of course. Yes, she was.
So
when I went in 2001, it was predominantly white school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Baylor.
Mm-hmm.
Is it still white?
I don't know. Probably. Maybe. I don't know.
All right. So tell me.
I'm like picturing it all in my.
So what you're saying is that the kind of thing that for you it's frustrating is that kid.
I mean, he wrong. He was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
He was wrong. When you see somebody, imagine the kid was probably smaller than Catie, and you got 4 grown men with their knees in his back. Stop struggling. And this kid don't know his rights. Yelling, I know my rights. I mean, clearly you don't know your rights, but
right.
You shouldn't have stole. But stop resisting. I mean, he was wrong. There's no doubt in my mind. But it didn't take 4 grown men, and so that kind of hurt my heart just to see it. He was wrong. Mm-hmm. He deserved to be arrested. 100%. 100%. He deserved to be arrested for what he did. But it still hurt to see them physically do what they did to him. And so, but at the time, I knew, hey, don't struggle. Just let them go through whatever they're going to do to you. Put you down, handcuffs on, and just kind of sit there and wait till it all kind of comes out. So,
Okay. Yeah, that is definitely feeling the weight of, I guess, I'm not sure if it's injustice or just feeling the weight of, like, I don't know what that is. What is that, injustice?
I don't think it's injustice. I mean, he deserved to be arrested.
But you're watching like the aggression and like the sin of maybe a power high from
maybe. I couldn't speak into it. I just know that it didn't take 4 grown men to hold this kid
Definitely
down.
took more than 2 to keep him in a car though.
So
of course they weren't there for that.
The beginning of the story. so anywho, I think justice was served in the sense of he was arrested.
Yeah. Okay.
He was ready, and kid you not, he was ready. He was ready to turn himself in. Like we was right on opposite side.
Oh, yeah.
And so, but
of course, when the whole
yeah,
yeah,
fleet of people coming over
Yeah.
fences and stuff, it's like, oh snap!
here comes the horde.
Like I'm down, hands on my head, interlocked, got on my knees. I knew the drill, so it's like, hey, get down. I'm not trying to get shot. So that's what I was thinking.
Yeah. Jeez. Okay. My experience with that is probably not quite as dramatic. When I was in seminary, I had a laptop, as you have, and I was living on Swiss Avenue, where Dallas Seminary is. It's like all these mansions, and so I was renting the apartment above their garage. So it's like it's a garage apartment. So it was about 800 square feet or so, just apartment, and I didn't think I think parking I had to go through a gate to park my car in the little courtyard of their house. And so I left my laptop in my car thinking, and I had everything I had was on that laptop for seminary and papers and stuff. And one morning I came down and I saw the back of my window was busted out and someone had stolen my laptop. And I was like, oh my gosh. And it was angry. And I was like, aha, I have LoJack. And I was like, I'm going to, this is going to solve it. So I call LoJack and they go, yeah, we can't find it. I was like, what's the point of LoJack on my computer if it doesn't work? And so then I said, you guys, they promised they would refund me the cost of the computer. Well, they only refund you the cost of the computer if it's not recovered. Well, the police eventually recovered it and it was like smashed to pieces. And so I was like, LoJack is the most worthless thing ever. Anyway, it was like an 8-month, 9-month process to get back a piece of
and they didn't give you anything.
Nothing. It was like I felt, the injustice. Probably the hardest part of that was rewriting all those papers. I was just like, because I'm sure the cloud was there. I just wasn't using it. And I was I was so upset. It was like all bunch of work and feeling defeated, just like, you got to be kidding me. Anyway, so I think we've all sort of experienced like the wickedness of humanity, seeing stuff that's not right being perpetrated, and then all of a sudden you wanting God to do something, and then I didn't get to see that guy go to jail. No one called me in to testify. I just met a cop somewhere. I met the cop at Cafe Brazil, and he goes, all right, sir, I'm going to go through all your belongings. I'm just like, he was just handing me he was like, here's your trash. It was so funny.
I think Joseph's was a little worse than ours.
Yeah, it was a little worse.
I mean, we all have it's hard. I was trying to, just hearing Chris's sermon yesterday, it's like, man, what is it? Or where do I see this in my life?
Yeah.
And it's hard. I mean, where do we see this? What is the application for? We talk about our own pride, or where do we see just the injustices? And you see it on the news, but in your personal life, can you really reflect on?
Yeah.
For the most part, we're not talking about injustice being perpetrated against us on a daily basis.
Yeah.
I feel like when I look at the Ukraine, and that's kind of where I was leading to, when I look at the Ukraine, a month ago, they're just like going about life, going to the grocery store, taking their kids to school, and then the school's now blown up. There is no grocery store. They're now, and this is where maybe when you look at numbers, 1.7 million people have been evacuated from the Ukraine right now. And there's 44 million total people in the Ukraine. So you go, what, when you just do what is the percentage of people? We're talking not even
1%.
Yeah. That is, that's almost 4%. But still, it's not enough to, I don't want to say justify. I mean, it's still a lot of people. It's 1.7 million people, but there's still 42 million people that are just sitting there going, I don't know what they're doing. To me, it's baffling. They're just going to endure it. I don't know what their plan is. To me, I would think 30 million people would be leaving the country, and where would they go? I don't know. This is where it's really confusing as I'm watching the whole thing. And granted, there's only 4 or 5 cities that Russia is targeting, and they're steamrolling across the Ukraine to take them out. But yeah, when you look at that amount of injustice, when you look at babies, when you look at people hiding in basements from the bombings, and as one who has been to war and experienced that sort of hardship, it just to kind of realize that most of the Earth's history is full of those kind of war, that kind of war. Like there's only a limited part of history where there is peace, and we're, because when we think World War II, and you think there's always a war going on somewhere in the world, even with me going to Iraq or Afghanistan, we just pulled out of Afghanistan. We're still in Germany. We're still in Bosnia. We're still in Korea. We're still in Japan. We're still all like American forces are still all over the world. And so just to see, this is where injustice has been prevalent for a long time, and Americans have been involved with have been involved in war that's caused injustice for, it's probably entire existence. So anyway, that's one of the things I was thinking about this past Sunday, and just really preaching through that. But then from that grand perspective to the Ukraine and global warfare, like this is where I feel like the injustice that we can sort of feel on the minor level. And I talked about, the email my wife sent me, and I felt like that was such a great injustice. But how do we and Catie, I'll go to you first. And we got a question in on this, and I'll let you jump on it. It says, and maybe I need to make sure I word this properly. How do you know when a yes means no from your wife? It sounds like this man has received a little bit of injustice because his wife isn't saying what she means. Have you ever said what you don't mean to your husband?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So you do that. How? How would you do that?
Well, I think Ryan can kind of tell when I'm lying. And so that's what's helpful is if he's, like at first I didn't really understand this question. And then Joseph earlier had given the example of like, oh, well, like if Ryan's asking you if you're okay and you say yes, even though you're not okay. And so the only time that I would say, yes, I'm okay to lie is if I don't want to talk about why I'm not okay. So maybe, I don't know.
Yeah. So you would say, hey, are you okay? Yes. And you really mean no.
But Ryan, knowing my body language, knowing my facial expressions, I mean, I've been told by many people that I wear my feelings on my face. And so.
No, not you.
And so Ryan's like looking at me. He's like, no, you're not. You're not okay. Yes, I am.
Is he a pretty in tune man? Like in tune with you emotionally?
With me, yes.
He's
he's not really in tune with his own emotions.
Most men aren't.
I wouldn't say he's like, oh, right now I'm feeling X, Y, and Z, and this is why, and it's.
Would you rather him be like that?
No.
I mean, yeah, as a woman, would you be attracted to a man who is wearing his feelings on his sleeves?
No, I don't know, because I have so much. That I bring so much expression and emotion and feelings, like a lot of intensity to a relationship. So I need someone. That's why God put us together. Like I was so gravitated towards him because
he was like a rock.
Kind of was more stoic and like mysterious.
Oh.
He's probably gonna be like, babe, can you not talk about me like that?
No, that's good. All right. So usually when you're lying to your husband, it's about how you're feeling and. Because that's where your emotions are.
Yeah, I mean, I think other examples would be like, oh, like if I don't want him to go somewhere, or if like he's like, oh, do you care if I like go hang out with so and so tonight instead of like stay home and hang out with you? And sometimes I might be like, yeah, sure, but internally I'm going, oh no, I want you to stay hang out with me. Like I want you to stay home, but I also want him to also have a life. So it's like I can't be selfish and expect him to just hang out with his awesome wife all the time. Like he has other things to do, sadly. And and so, yeah, there have been times in that situation, which again, like he knows when I'm lying. Like he knows when my.
So what are you going to
yes
tell this
means
man?
No.
All right, because this man, I'm assuming it's a man. How do you know when a yes means no from your wife? What do you tell this guy?
I think he just needs to call her out on it.
So that say liar.
No, don't say liar, but say I don't think that you mean that.
So is that how Ryan does it?
Yeah.
He goes. So you'll say,
Like I'll be like, yeah, that's fine. And he'll be like, but is it? Are you sure?
okay.
And I'm like I think it's okay to like have open communication. And like, yes, in those moments, I shouldn't be like secretive. Like I shouldn't be like camouflaging my yes.
So
I should be more honest.
Are you as? Can you catch him when he's doing the same?
Oh.
No. That's but he typically doesn't. He's not gonna be like.
He's not gonna be like whining about his feelings.
No.
Yeah.
But you're not whining, but he can tell that something's wrong.
He can tell that something's wrong. But
Are you not in tune with him?
It's a little harder for me to know. Like I have to like really focus and Ryan's not the kind of person that's gonna like walk around and mope.
Yeah.
Like if he's frustrated with something, he'll kind of bottle it up. Like he's like a bottler where like he'll get frustrated, but he won't initially act on it. He'll kind of bottle it up, and then later on it'll come up in another fight that we have maybe in the moment. But like it's not as easy for me.
It's harder for women for some women. I would say, I'm not gonna say all, because it's like that for me. I know when Sierra's off, so I don't ask the question, "Are you okay?" Hey, I know you're not okay. You want to talk about what's going on?
That's good.
Yeah.
I know when she's not okay.
So yeah, I feel like if this guy took that approach, a more direct approach, maybe.
Yeah. When you spend time with your spouse, you know when they're off.
Yeah.
I mean, the more time you spend with them, you know that. So I go and I tell Sierra, and she'll know when I'm off as well. And so she will say, "Are you okay?" And in my mind, I'm thinking, I'm not okay. But because you were asking me if I'm okay, I'm going to say I'm okay. Versus, hey, you see that I'm not okay. Hey, whenever husband, you're ready to talk. And I tell her, I've communicated it to her. Yeah. Don't ask me if I'm okay when you know I'm not okay.
Yeah.
You see I'm not okay, just say, hey, whenever you get ready, I'm here if you want to talk about it. Yeah. I'm like, thank you.
Yeah. Ryan will do that with me. He's like, just talk to me. Like, just talk. Tell me what's going on. And then, I'll like elaborate what's going on. But I think with him, if I can tell that he's frustrated, but he's not talking about it, because he's not one to initially talk about his feelings, I'll go and I'll say, you seem kind of irritated. Like, is it me? Did I do something? Like, what's going on? And then he'll express, like, but he needs to be asked, which I feel like, I guess, is a lot of people, but.
Yeah, because if you initiate and someone's like, hey, did you see that did you see The Bachelor? And they're like right in the middle of the story, that'd be just really like defeating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so I think like from a wife, women need to be clearer with their communication.
Right.
So if your husband is asking you if you're okay, don't say, and I'm saying this for me too, don't say you're okay if you're not okay, because then most men are probably going to be like, oh, okay, well,
yeah,
and then walk away. And then you're sitting there going, why didn't you just read my mind? Like, how did you not just know that I'm not okay? Like, ask me more. And so then she's going to get irritated, because I've done that before where like Ryan was just kind of like, oh, okay, well, I guess. Okay, well, and then I'm sitting there like boiling, like raging, because I'm like,
he didn't read your mind.
Like, really? You don't just know after this many years of marriage that like I'm not.
Do we even have a marriage anymore?
That.
Yeah.
Do you even love me?
Do you even care? Yeah. So I think I took Adrian at face value for the first 5 years of marriage, and then she finally realized in her like he doesn't know.
Yeah.
And then she started being more direct. And I was like, okay. And honestly, for me, I felt like, oh, okay, there's a problem. And like did not even clue into that she'd been sort of like holding it all in and raging on the inside. And like I was like,
I learned.
I take you at face value. So
yeah,
I don't need to play mind games. I don't do the.
It literally took years for Ryan to be like, well, and it's on me too. Like it took Ryan years to be like, no, I'm not gonna give up that easily. I need to ask a little more.
Right.
But it also means that I need to be more direct. Like if my feelings are hurt about something, now I'll be like, okay, when you said that really hurt my feelings. Right. That was kind of rude. Or like if I'm feeling lonely or feeling like I need affection, like I will literally be so direct as to say, babe, I need some affection right now. Can we like cuddle or something? Like I'm feeling like I just need a hug or because he doesn't like men are not. I hate to generalize men and women, but like Ryan is not going to know if I need a hug or if I need some physical affection if I don't say it.
Right.
Like he's not going to. And so I will say, hey, let's cuddle. And I know that's super lame. Men are probably like, okay. Y'all are like, this is always my issue. Always my issue. I have
cuddle.
to talk to 2 grown men about my life every Monday. And
I didn't say that anything was wrong with what you said.
No, hey, it's beautiful.
like I need physical
I am
affection
no
to feel
judgment,
loved. Like
no
that
judgment.
is my love language, and that's not Ryan's love language.
Ooh, poor guy.
When we were dating,
Yeah.
I thought it was his love language because we were all over each other all
Got
the time.
him.
Yeah. And then we get married and it's like suddenly there's no like he's like, what? No, like
Whatever.
we can have sex now. Like what is the deal? Like I don't understand. And so yeah, this is why I can't ever say what I'm actually thinking. So many people think, "Oh, you're so honest, Catie." No, not on the podcast. I'm not as honest as I want to be because I'm literally talking to 2 grown men who are married and
Tell us more.
will not understand what I'm saying.
I truly understand what you're saying.
Oh my gosh.
How long have y'all been married? 5?
We just celebrated 6 years
6
in
years.
December. Yeah.
That's
Chris, you're
pretty good.
10,
I'm
11?
11 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
When you
So-
you have to understand that I understand. When you add your 2 together,
Yeah.
you get me.
That's right. That's the wisdom over here.
I
That's
get you.
The wisdom.
I get
I'm
you.
like, yeah, so women just be direct. with
Be
your husbands.
direct.
Just be honest because men, your husbands will be so grateful if you are just honest and say what you're thinking. Literally tell them what you need. If you want a birthday present for your birthday,
Tell them.
say, this is what I want for my birthday.
Right. Because if
I
you
want
don't,
this.
they're going to get
Or-
you nothing.
Or like for Mother's
What
Day.
now? I'm gonna cut you off, and I'm gonna say I don't agree with that.
Oh.
Oh.
100%. I don't agree with it 100%.
But you're a little more creative than most guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
You are. You're more creative. Like whenever you were talking about this like beautiful date that you went on or that you like created for Sierra, what was that for her birthday one year?
For a birthday, yeah.
And I literally went home and I told Ryan all about it, and he's like, "Wow, that's like insane." And I'm like, "Yeah,
That's the standard.
yeah, babe. Next year." No, I'm just kidding. I
seriously.
can't
Ryan.
expect. No, I can't.
Ryan, if you're listening, here's a helpful hint. Listen to that podcast about
no.
Joseph's date. And
I can't
recreate.
expect that from Ryan. That's just not how his brain functions. But that's how your brain naturally functions. Like that would be like a lot for like his brain just does not function that way in this creative, like elaborate, romantic plan. And so I've come to terms with that. But like I think but I'm very content with the way that he does provide.
Yes.
Y'all, I don't look at our bank account. I don't look at I have literally
good.
almost no responsibility when it comes to finances.
You're a kept
because
woman. It's pretty
he just takes care of it all. So that's kind of romance. That's his romance for me. It's like, or that's how I just take it.
I would take it like
Yeah.
that.
I'm like, I would.
All right, so we're going to move forward. In the previous podcast, we touched on a Proverbs 31 woman, and this listener asked, can you go more into this? Are women supposed to check all the boxes of the Proverbs 31, and men hold strongly to what a woman should be in Proverbs 31? So let's go real quick through Proverbs 31, and let me tell you what this person is talking about. Here it is. Proverbs 31, starting at verse 10. An excellent wife who can find, she's far more precious than jewels. The heart of her husband trusts in her, and he will have no lack of gain. She does him good and not harm all the days of her life. She seeks wool and flax, and she works with willing hands. She's like the ships of the merchant. She brings her food from afar. She shops at Aldi, apparently. She rises while it's yet night and provides food for her maidens. For household and portions for her maidens. She considers a field and buys it. She's into real estate. And with the fruit of her hand, she plants a vineyard. She also has a green thumb. She dresses herself with strength, and makes her arms strong. She perceives that her merchandise is profitable. Her lamp does not go out at night. which I love that she doesn't sleep. She puts her hands to the distaff, and her hands hold the spindle, which she makes her own clothes. She opens her hand to the poor. She reaches her hand out to the needy. She's in homeless ministry. And she's not afraid of snow for her household, and all of her household are clothed in scarlet, royal colors that are really expensive. She makes bed coverings for herself. She can do some knitting. Her clothing is fine linen and purple. Her husband is known in the gates when he sits among the elders of the land. She makes fine garments and sells them. She is definitely an Etsy. And she delivers sashes to the merchant. Strength and dignity are her clothing. She laughs at the time to come. She opens her mouth with wisdom and teaches kindness. And teaching of kindness is on her tongue. She looks well to the ways of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness. She's definitely not lazy. Her children rise up and call her blessed, her husband also, and he praises her. Many women have done excellently, but you surpass them all. Charm is deceitful, beauty is in vain, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. All right. So
that was exhausting.
So tell me, do you fit all of those categories, Catie?
Of course. I never sleep. I sell things on Etsy. No, I'm just kidding. None of that.
So when you hear that, did you feel like I don't know? Do you have like a failure? Like I completely fail as a woman, or you just read that and you go, oh, that's a nice.
No, I don't have any hard feelings towards Proverbs 31. I know there are some women that resent the Proverbs 31, woman or expectation or whatever it is. But I don't see it as an expectation. I just see it as that's a beautiful woman that is honoring God, and we can aspire to be
aspirational
some of those
goal.
things. Nice. But if we're not, we're not, like, I'm not selling things on Etsy, whatever that means. whatever you took
She's an
that
entrepreneur.
from.
She's an entrepreneur. Like she makes stuff and sells it.
And I wouldn't even say that I'm very ambitious, but I don't have any.
Well, you do have your own photography company.
Yeah, but I mean, if I didn't have to work, then I wouldn't.
Would you eat the bread of idleness?
The bread of idleness? What does that even mean?
Lazy.
Do I like to relax? Yeah, I love to relax. But no,
Oh man.
So the question though, Chris is asking if the husband should hold his wife to that flame, right?
No.
Yeah. So what should a man? Do you think a man should have any expectations for a woman, in the marriage? What do you think?
That's a loaded question.
Well,
should a man have any expectations?
I'm just asking.
So I'll go and then you can
you
can ponder a little bit.
Yeah.
Give it some ponder.
So I believe that it's okay to hold your wife to that standard if you're going to hold yourself to the Ephesians 5 husband standard of loving your wife like Christ loved the church. And we can go through all that.
He gave himself up for her.
Yeah. And so I do believe that it's a cycle of a husband saying, hey, I expect these things of you just as much as you can expect these things of me. And so it's almost like saying to my wife, hey, I'm gonna love you more. No, I'm gonna love you more. No, you hang up first. No, you hang up first. That kind of thing. And it's
that
like
was such a sweet time.
Yeah, I don't believe that should stop. I don't believe that it's almost as if I'm hugging you harder. No, I'm gonna hug you harder. But the husband's love should always outweigh. And when I'm reading through the text, and Chris, you jump in, but the husband's love should outweigh if my love is supposed to be compared to Christ's love for
it should be stronger and
the church.
And so I feel like this is a great, I think, aspirational value, aspirational goal for a woman to have. And and I think the point of it, this is a mom talking to her son, which I love this. So,
oh, really?
Yeah. So the mom, let's take a look at it. Right. So if you look at the very beginning of Proverbs 31, the words of King Lemuel, an oracle that his mother taught him. Now,
yeah, I've never studied that deeply.
Yeah. So what I love about that is this is the aspirational goals that a mom has for her son. So of course she's going to put the woman at like such a high standard, because that's probably how she views herself. Like, you don't want a lazy woman. It's not going to help anything come in the household. You don't want a woman who's not going to be raising your children and out in the garden and selling land and doing Etsy and, making as an entrepreneur. She is setting the standard so high for him because he was wasting his time. If you read verses 1 through 10 on essentially not women who are not at his standard or not his level. Level. That sounds like not someone that would work as hard as he would. He's
there's a moral hierarchy that she kind of has.
Yeah, I guess she's like, hey, you're a king. You're going to be a king. You need to have a woman that can rise to the occasion of a king. And so I think what happens for a lot of us, we don't see, we don't hear moms or parents calling us kings, and so therefore we don't aspire for greatness in our marriage. We aspire for a place of lust to be emptied. And I think that's a place of sort of sadness to the culture in general, where we're thinking more about a romantic endeavor. Not that romance is not a part of it, but that when that becomes the primary, then we miss out on the overarching view of having a family that moves the kingdom of God forward. So anyway, I think we've all sort of said the same thing, but if someone's answering this and if a husband's ever lifting up Proverbs 31 to his wife and going, how come you're not measuring up? That's a sad place to be.
Oh, yeah.
Because those are aspirational goals of a mom for her son.
Yeah, I think that women can, oh gosh, where was I going? It's like my mouth started before my brain was ready.
That happens.
But I think men, like you were saying, Joseph, men can have an expectation that their wife is going to strive to honor God and be a godly woman in all that she does. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But I don't think that holding these specific standards from Proverbs 31 is okay.
Right. So to kind of bring it full circle, when we're because that becomes a place where you have a standard of justice that is your own, and you've kind of put it on somebody else, and that's something they were never meant to be able to fulfill. And then all of a sudden you become your own little mini God, and that's how you become proud, and that's how you pervert justice. And I think that's part of the whole point of 1 Peter 3 says, live with your wives in an understanding way. And I think what happens is we can put on them as men onto wives and wives onto husbands, a standard that they were never meant to fulfill. And that's not living with them in an understanding way. That's living in them with a way that's sort of draconian, and you're going to obey what I say when I say. So I think we're landing the plane on that. And so we're going to wrap this up for this week. So, hey, thank you guys so much for listening. If you would like to join in with us, we would love to receive a text from you at 737-231-0605. That number will be in the notes on our podcast, so please join us there. Love hearing from all of you. These questions are what drive the podcast, so thank you so much for listening, and have an awesome week of worship.